Woo-hoo-hoo. And we're live once again on another Tuesday. And I have a special new guest in the house today. I got Angela Pitter on, and we're going to be talking about some really interesting stuff today. So I want everybody to lean in and listen because this is new for me, even. So, Angela, before we get stuck in, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, tell people who you are and what you do, and then we'll start chatting.
Okay, Gillian, I am so excited to be here. Thank you for having me today. For the audience, if you don't know me, I'm Angela Pitter. I'm founder and CEO of Livewire Collaborative. We're a digital marketing consultancy. We create solutions that help customers find their target communities and convert them into customers. Our superpower is really helping business owners and nonprofits show how their digital footprint shows up for their customers and clients and where it's not showing up, so they can close the gaps and find the people who need their help most. But my real superpower, along with Gillian, is LinkedIn. And I like to always talk about how you can use LinkedIn, not only as a business owner, but even more importantly, frankly, as a nonprofit. And I'm finding nonprofits are just like missing out by not being here on LinkedIn.
Oh boy. Oh boy. That's great. Awesome. Awesome intro. Love it. Love it. So, our topic today is LinkedIn for Good, powering up nonprofits with LinkedIn. And this is a topic that has never been covered on my show before. And I think that like people just kind of like, I thought LinkedIn was about business and making money. And, it's like that's kind of like how everybody thinks about it. But if you think about it, nonprofits want to make money too. It's just a different way. And we don't really think about LinkedIn for nonprofits. And yet I actually saw a stat. I did a little bit of research and I saw a stat that said 217,000 nonprofit pages are on LinkedIn. And I was just like, wow.
Well,
Wow.
actually, I'm
Is
not
it
sure where
more?
that came from. Is yes, like so I went. So LinkedIn has a page which nonprofits don't know about because once again, LinkedIn does a horrible job of advertising everything that they have. So if you go to nonprofits.linkedin.com, you will find all the resources as a nonprofit right there on that page. So nonprofits.linkedin.com, and there it says actually 1 million nonprofits are on LinkedIn. I was shocked because a couple of years ago it was like 660,000, something like that. And so I was like,
Wow.
wait, when did 1 million nonprofits get up there? But they're there
Wow. Wow. And this is worldwide, right? So, like, we're
worldwide.
talking
Yep.
about nonprofits everywhere, and we're talking about big and small and everything in
Every,
between.
absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. The smallest nonprofits are there and the biggest nonprofits. Any huge nonprofit you can think of, if you go into LinkedIn, enter their name, I'm sure they will have a page there.
Wow. Wow. So the first question I would have is nonprofits, are they making company pages or is it a different kind of page? What kind of pages are nonprofits even having, Angela?
It's a company page. It actually is a company. It shows up as a company page, but they get a couple of extra fields that you don't see on a
Mm.
regular company page. So, for example, they have a volunteers tab. You know how you can have the learn more or go to the website. They actually have a volunteers tab if they're seeking volunteers, and they also have a donate tab. Now, the donate tab
Mm.
doesn't come up right away, and I haven't figured out the numbers. Somewhere between 700 plus, the donate tab will appear. And then you could add the donate tab to your nonprofit page on LinkedIn.
Wow, wow, wow. So let me backtrack for a bit and just ask you, how did you even get involved with nonprofits and LinkedIn? Because this is a very this makes you distinct from
Yeah.
many other LinkedIn trainers. So kind of tell us a little bit of your backstory.
So I've been working with nonprofits for a long time. And initially, when I was working with them, I wasn't really talking to them about LinkedIn. It was more about like, this is what you could do. I mean, because this is, in the height of Instagram and, 2010s when I started the business. So that's kind of the route I was going down: Facebook, Instagram, whatever. And then I'm not sure exactly at what point it dawned on me that, wait a minute, they need to be on LinkedIn. Like, forget all this other crap. And it might have been at the part maybe like 2018, somewhere around there, that things. And then definitely with 2020, actually nonprofits became a larger percentage of my business, because when they couldn't do the normal Facebook Live or whatever, it was like, I mean, they could do it, but it wasn't working as well. And then they didn't have, people coming to their businesses because of COVID. I mean, their businesses, well, their organization because of COVID. So they needed to really sort of transition. And I was like, a lot of that can happen on LinkedIn. And so what you really need to be doing is thinking about, I always talk about LinkedIn and sort of the ABCs, right? So the ABC is the attraction piece of it. So all of you executive directors, all of you board members that are hanging out there, you're all on LinkedIn trying to get your profile up and running, let everybody know that you actually are part of a nonprofit, what the nonprofit mission is, and you can do all of that with your personal profile. And then the B is building the networks. And then when I do board training for nonprofits, it's like, okay, guys, you were invited to be on the board because of your network, right? And you ain't networking, as far as I can tell, especially on LinkedIn, where all the power people live, right? If you're looking for sponsors, donors, advocates, they're all on LinkedIn. In particular, sponsor, every single company globally is on LinkedIn. Why are you not on LinkedIn and promoting the nonprofit that you're on the board to be? That's your job as a board member. And then I go into the sort of the conversion piece and like convert with content. So one of the big things when COVID happened is all of their in-person events need to be online, right? Mm-hmm. So are you using the LinkedIn events page? Are you going live on LinkedIn on your page? Are you doing all these other things? Are you posting documents? What nonprofit doesn't have an annual report? Mm. Post up your annual report and let people know what's happening in your nonprofit. So those are all the things like the ABCs, attraction, building the network, converting with content that I like to talk about nonprofits and how to use the platform.
That's great. That's great. So I'm thinking like, from a profile perspective, mm-hmm. if I was a board member on a nonprofit, where would I attach it on my profile? Would I put it in my experience section or organizations? Like how do I do that?
Put it in the experience section. The problem with the organization sections, everybody knows, it's at the bottom of the you're scrolling, you never reach it. Put it in the experience section. And especially as a board member, again, that's a prominent position. You want that to be front and center. So you put it in the experience. And in fact, even in the headline, depending on how you feel about that, you might even say, something around nonprofit advocate or some kind of words that would let people know that, this is a thing that you're doing and you want to let, people bring people into that world.
That makes sense. Okay.
And if you're an executive director, forget about it. It should be all over your profile, right? It should be your background. It should be in your headline, the mission statement, all of that, the feature section, all of that, if you're executive director.
Wow. What if I was like a volunteer? Would I want to do something too?
Yes, you want to definitely, if you're a volunteer, put it in the volunteer section at that point.
Okay.
And they used to have separately, and I'm not sure, I haven't paid that as attention, but there used to be like the organization section and the volunteer section. And the organization section, I remember, and I have to go back and double check, I should have did this before I came on the live, used to actually let you add the organization and would build the logo in, but I don't think in the volunteer section it brings in the logo. I think you could just put the title of the organization, but the logo doesn't come in. So if you can do the organization section, if it still exists, because I think somehow I was thinking that it looked like they were taking it out.
Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense. So basically nonprofits, it's like you're having your page, you've got, basically your little soldiers are all the people that are like either employees, board members, volunteers. I guess donors would be what, followers? You would encourage anybody who donates to become a follower of your page. So that's kind of like another little soldier out there. And then what kind of content do you recommend to a nonprofit for visibility's sake?
I think, again, going back to the documents, I think that's a really one. Video, it's a 50-50 thing, especially when it's on the page. But still, lives do work. So I tell people, have a fireside chat with the executive director, with some of the board members, or some of the board members with some of the sponsors, especially if you're coming up, you have your big annual event. That's a great way to sort of like tease your audience about what's going on. So I would say lives for sure, documents for
Mm.
sure. I don't know, nonprofit around that doesn't have a document in their back pocket that they can stick up there on LinkedIn. And I would say also what's also great content is sort of, and again, this kind of goes back to video, but it doesn't have to be video, but have your volunteers talk about why they love your organization so much, and have the recipients. So like, so say your message, your mission is around helping homeless, or, you know, whatever, whoever the target audience is, have that audience also talk about what that organization has done for them on LinkedIn.
I love that. I love that because that's kind of the behind the scenes,
Yes.
how it's making a difference. And if you kind of
Right.
go back to the title of our live today, which is LinkedIn for Good, this
Yes.
is showing the good stuff that your nonprofit is doing, which is, of course, is going to encourage more donors, more volunteers, people wanting to, you know, work with your company and just
Mhm.
spread the word. So I love that. I love that. That's a great tip. That's a great
Yeah.
tip.
Yeah. And I would say definitely, you know, when you get a chance, really deep dive into that nonprofits.linkedin.com page. They've literally in the last couple of months have put a lot of work in there. And
Mm.
that's why I put together that little resource guide. So if you go to my profile and look at the post for today, there's a little document you can download. It has all the links. So if you Google guides for nonprofit, they actually created all these great guides. And I'm going to just read some of the titles for you. How to connect with major donors and supporters on LinkedIn, fundraising and development on LinkedIn, events and groups on LinkedIn. So they put a lot of work, and they actually created all these different documents. When you talk about the type of posts, if you go in that resource, like every single thing you need to do is there in that resource section.
Wow, wow. Now one question. I went on to the LinkedIn for Nonprofits page beforehand, and they have a little thing like talk with a LinkedIn counselor. Who
Yes.
is that? What is that about?
So they have, so it's, well, it's two things, right? So one thing is they have assigned counselors for nonprofits, because you know nonprofits, they don't typically, especially the smaller nonprofit, have a whole lot of resources, right? They need help, right? So they will help you in how to, you know, set up your page, and you know all the little things that you need to do to use LinkedIn to promote your nonprofit. However, they're also trying to get you to do ads on LinkedIn or buy
Mm.
Sales Navigator. But I would say definitely think about Sales Navigator, because for nonprofits, it's half price, I think, for the first year. So at least to
Wow.
kind of get you going and get that little boost, I would definitely think about um, uh, Sales Navigator. And in fact, I believe the ads are also half price. So
Oh, wow.
yes, yes. So go nonprofits. Call, talk to the specialist. Yes.
And I suppose that a nonprofit, they have to probably be qualified and, you know, go
Yeah,
through
now
a
I'm sure. Yeah, they
process to
check the
be.
EIN and all that good, great, the stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Okay, that makes sense. That makes
yeah,
sense. And yeah, I can see that, you know, having ads, this is probably one of those times where you really might want to consider
yeah.
ads because for the
Mhm.
most part, I think the majority of us don't really go down that route, but maybe with a nonprofit, it's like you need that visibility because people, you know, like especially if it was like water in an
Yeah,
underdeveloped country and
yeah,
you know, these kind of things. Now, you actually, before the live a couple days ago, you alerted me to an event and that you said that there was a special event going on. So that's another thing that
right.
nonprofits might not know about is these events. Can you talk about some of that?
Yeah, they have again. If you go back to that nonprofits, there's a whole section of webinars, right? And anytime they do a webinar, they also save it to that page. So that's why you always want to keep
Mm.
checking back, and you want to follow the page as well. As a matter of fact, they have a nonprofits page separate, and you want to follow that separately because they also will advertise the nonprofits. If there's any changes, they advertise that. Anything coming up,
Mm.
they advertise. So, for example, when you talk about advertising on LinkedIn, Giving Tuesday every year comes around, what is it, early December, late November, whatever the date is. And so this past year, what LinkedIn did is if you tag them, and I can't remember, they had their own, what do you call it? Hashtag.
Hashtag.
Duh. Yeah. So if you tag them and link back to their page, Like, I can't remember. They had a number. They were donating to nonprofits as part of Giving
Oh,
Tuesday. Yeah. So
wow.
I put that out there like, hey guys, go get the money. Just tag LinkedIn, do your thing and get that money. And, of course, there's a cutoff. It's not like an endless budget, but, first come, first serve. So you just got to pay attention to all of those things. Yeah.
Right, right. And I think probably some of those events, because they are fireside chats,
Mhm.
if you don't know what a fireside chat is, because people be like, I wouldn't know how to do this. Well,
Right.
you can kind of go and be a fly on the wall and see
Right.
how do they do it and what's involved and what are the topics, what draws you in. So it's kind of like sometimes just go and learn by watching other people. And I love those little fireside chats. I think
Yeah.
that's a great
John just
idea.
So John just corrected me. It's actually the sales nav discount is actually 75% for the first 12 months, not 50%.
Woo!
Woohoo! Go
Woo!
for it.
Woo!
Go for it. And back to the webinars. Actually, on that little cheat sheet I put together, I listed a couple. So, like, master your professional brand to drive fundraising. How nonprofits on LinkedIn are using LinkedIn to connect with major donors. Fundraising strategy and trends. Share your message, drive your message. So they got great webinars up there. I can't say enough about
Wow.
joining. Yeah, and John, thank you, John, for putting the link to the nonprofit group. Appreciate
So
that.
is there also like any kind of like recruiter for like
Yes,
discounts for
I'm glad you brought that
recruitering?
up. I completely forgot about that. Yes, so there is also a discount recruiter. So when you talk to your specialist, that's the other thing. Besides Sales Navigator, they're going to also try to get you on recruiter. However, there is again one of the other resources in there. There is a way to search to just find those volunteer opportunities. That is a great way to actually use LinkedIn.
Mm,
During COVID, a lot of organizations lost volunteers. And,
mm.
just by using that volunteer tab in the job search, and even when you're looking for board members, you could do both. You should definitely take advantage of that as an organization and find your volunteers. Because, like, not everything necessarily has to be, as we found, in person. You can have some volunteer stuff that they can do, like marketing on LinkedIn
Mhm.
remotely. So, definitely take advantage of that.
I like that. And they kind of paying it forward too. Like I know recently we talked about high school students, and college students getting on LinkedIn. Being
Hmm.
a volunteer for some of these nonprofits is a win-win because you can help support the
Yeah.
organizations that you care about and get some really good skills and learn some
Yes.
skills and network and get to know people. So
Right.
again, you're doing this all in the public arena. So
Yeah.
you can support nonprofits and be a nonprofit that's trying to be visible. So it's kind of a two-way street and
It
it's
sure is.
good. It's good.
Yeah. It's good. It's good.
I
So
like
what do we
that.
got in the chat? Are there any
Yeah,
questions
yeah.
there?
Let's hop on over to some comments. Okay, so we have first one from YouTube. Whoo, nice post.
Woo.
Thank you. There's your resource. So that's in our top comment. So that's awesome. Here's John. Nice to see Angela in action. And yes, this is one video avenue that LinkedIn is not killing off. Oh gosh, so true, so
Ah,
true, so true. And that's always the nice thing about company pages and of course nonprofits are company pages is that you do have that video tab. So as a video
yes.
person, I always recommend getting
Yeah.
videos up there, and that's a great way to go. We've got people that are telling other people about this live today, spreading the word. So
Yep.
again, the little soldiers out there, everybody doing their
Hmm.
part. So appreciate that. Fantastic tip, Angela. Nonprofit.linkedin.com. Thank
Yep.
you. Oh,
Get over
that's
there.
awesome.
Get over
Thank you,
there.
Eve. These are great ideas. You're getting a lot of fans here today. This is great. Great
Yep.
ideas, especially the fireside chat. I just love this whole concept
Yeah.
of a fireside chat.
I
I'm
bet.
thinking
Yep.
that's what I just need, like a little virtual flame going, and we could pretend we're having one. Never
Right.
mind that it's the
Exactly.
middle of summer and hot.
Hey, I got the brick wallpaper here.
There we go. There we go. John Asperian, thank goodness they're not killing this. Yeah, it's everybody's getting depressed about some of the features LinkedIn's taking away.
I know.
70.
I know.
Okay. So here's John, 75% discount on
Mhm.
sales nav for the first 12 months for nonprofits. And that's 25 a month. I bet you the profit people are just kind of going crazy.
Yeah.
Just going, what a great deal. What a great deal. Can
It's
you
a
just
great deal if you
quickly?
know about it. This is the
Oh,
problem. You
yeah.
do a
Oh, yeah.
horrible job with telling people this. I mean, I'm going to add that to the
Yes.
post.
Yes.
I'll have to
So
go back
so
and edit
just
it.
in case people don't know what this is, can you just kind of sum up what Sales Navigator would do for a nonprofit? Like, why would they even want that?
So a lot of, especially smaller nonprofits, don't have a CRM. Some of the bigger ones have a CRM. They might be using like Salesforce. So it's a way to figure out, not figure out. So there's a way to sort of tag your people. So those sponsors, those donors, everybody in your funnel, and literally track them on LinkedIn on
Mm,
activities, um, anything, right? There's all kind of ways to track them through Sales Navigator. And Sales Navigator also connects with Salesforce. So if you are a bigger
mm.
nonprofit who's using Salesforce, you can now dump all that information and transfer it into Salesforce as well. So it's a way to try
Wow.
to track your folks, all of your folks at all levels, and then you can tag the different levels as well through the journey from the time they first see you to the time they donate, and hopefully they become continuing donors as they go forward. And I should say, the one other thing about LinkedIn is when we think about looking at all the different social networks, LinkedIn has some of the highest income in terms of six figures on LinkedIn. And the stat goes that 50% of LinkedIn members donate to nonprofits. So like, why aren't you there? They donate. And then the only reason they don't donate is because you haven't told them that you exist here.
Yep.
So if you
Yep.
start telling them that you're here and make it easy peasy, connect the dots, easy peasy.
I love easy peasy. And
Yes.
and always, if you're not visible, you could be the doing the best thing in the
Worse.
world, but if people don't know about you,
Right.
it's not gonna you can't be that blank,
Right.
billboard in the middle of the desert.
Exactly.
You
No.
have to
No.
have that visibility.
Yeah. That's
So
if this build it, they will come thing may not happen for you.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, and
So
in
so
fact, a lot of these nonprofits end up in the news, right? So when you're in the news,
mm,
when you talk about content, put that out there. I was in the news, tag the news organization, tag
mm.
the reporters. All the reporters are on LinkedIn, all the news organizations on LinkedIn, and but spread out that promo. Use that to your advantage.
I love that. And you can comment, as you could do some outreach too, commenting on issues you
Hmm.
as your page, as your nonprofit
Right.
page. So you
Yes.
get
Yes.
some visibility that way as well too.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, lots of
Yeah.
stuff
And the
here.
other thing is sometimes you want to collaborate with another nonprofit, right? So
Mm,
if you're an organization, maybe you're again using the homeless example, but the other one could be a food pantry. Maybe you get
mm,
together and you can collaborate, you do something together. There's a lot of synergy there. So you don't
yep.
have to, as a smaller nonprofit, think about other nonprofits that you can partner with that makes sense. And then you sort of promote and leverage each other's audiences.
I love that. Hashtag better together. So, and I
That's
think
it.
they
Love it.
actually have something on that. So that's
Yeah.
kind of cool. So
Yeah.
John says official nonprofit LinkedIn group is, and then he has it.
The link.
And,
Yep.
and
Perfect.
yep. So you can just click on that, guys, and that will actually take you to the group.
Hmm.
So that's good as well. There's just so much stuff
Yep.
here. The top level video tabs is going away for company pages, but it's still
Really?
sort
That
what?
sucks. That sucks. That so sucks.
We just can't keep on top of these features.
I
It's just like,
know.
oh, so it which
Oh, but it's still,
actually,
but it's accessible inside the post tab, which is good because I mean
yes,
I
it,
like to
yeah,
sort right away.
yeah,
Um, But yeah, and if
yeah.
you want to see a good example of documents, there's an organization, UNDP is UN, whatever it is. But anyway, they literally, I would say 98% of their posts are documents. They post documents pretty much almost every single day.
Mm,
Take a look. Yeah. And then I don't think people realize that documents can be downloaded. There's a little four square bracket at the bottom right hand corner. You click on that, it opens up. And then at the top right hand, you see the download arrow, which is cool. So I think the other thing is just make sure you educate your users because they may not be so used to that on
true.
how to download the document.
True, true. And it gets such a great engagement because you're just like click, click, click. It
They're
just
clicking through forever, forever. Like the one
yeah.
thing I would say on the UNDP though is they put large documents like 40 pages, sometimes 100 pages. But what they don't usually do is put a little index in the copy. So if you
Mm,
just want to jump
mm.
to the particular page, that people might, nobody's scrolling through 40 pages. So
Yeah.
if you do have a
And
large document,
yeah.
index it. Yeah.
And that's easy to do nowadays with Canva. You can
Yeah.
do clickable links within a document and all
Yeah.
sorts of stuff. So
All the good stuff.
that's good. That's good. Angela, here's a question that I've had people ask me before.
Hmm.
If you were a nonprofit and you wanted to see some good examples of other nonprofits that, maybe they have a really active page or
Hmm.
they've done it well, how would you find those? How would you even search for those good examples out there?
Okay. So let me think. Oh my God. I'm trying to think. There's children's. Oh my God. I can't believe I'm drawing a blank. I'm going to put some examples in the
That's
chat.
fine. That's fine.
That's what I'm
Didn't
gonna do.
mean to
'Cause I,
spring it
there
on
are
you.
some, yeah, there are some out there that are really good examples, and I'm gonna put them in the chat for you later.
Yeah, and I guess maybe even does LinkedIn profile any in their nonprofit group? Do
Yes,
they?
they do. They do
Okay,
have
okay.
ones that they profile.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so that's
Yep. So,
probably
yeah, check that
if you're
resource.
on LinkedIn's radar, you're
Yep.
probably doing it right.
Yep. Yep. They do profile. That's another thing to go. So, like, go through that resource page, like literally line by line by line, because some of the stuff is like buried too. Because like that
Right,
guides
right.
thing, that's why I told you to actually search on it, like Google search guides for nonprofits, because
I
it
love
is
that.
not easy to find those guides.
Yeah, yeah. So what about newsletters? Should nonprofits do a newsletter
Oh,
to go with their
absolutely. If you're
page?
already sending out a regular newsletter, either a weekly or monthly newsletter, just repurpose that on LinkedIn. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely do that.
Because that's
Yep.
probably something that nonprofits like aren't realizing that when these newsletters got introduced to
Right.
us, it's like you don't need people's email addresses.
Exactly.
They just follow it. So it's just kind of like, oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's actually the other nice reason to set up the events on the page is because you have that tab where you can add in the address, and then people subscribe from there. Then that's a
Mm.
couple more emails for you to add to your email list.
And that's different than we don't have that
Yeah.
on our profile. Any
Nope.
kind of events, we don't know who came. It's like people just
Exactly.
click attend and that's
Mhm.
it. And I guess you could also do events off of LinkedIn as well, like your own
Yeah,
webinars and
yeah.
all
You could
those
link
kind
to
of
anything.
things.
So even if it could be an event being a LinkedIn Live event, or it could be an event being a Zoom event or a webinar and wherever on your website. So
I
doesn't
love it.
matter. Yeah,
I love
just
it.
be. I
Okay.
would just say one thing is when you do an event that's not on LinkedIn, in the event title, just say like on Zoom or whatever, so people might kind of know right
Mm.
away, and then they're thinking you're reminding them right away that they got to go off.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
What about audio events? Is that something that nonprofits could do? Can they do
Yeah, I
audio
mean, I don't
events?
know. I'm trying to think of any examples. Have I ever been on an audio event from a nonprofit? And I don't think I have, but I don't see why not. I mean, I would say try all of the features. They're there, right? Put like when you have an event, post up all the images. Multiple images work really well. Make sure you're doing, even though video is not necessarily, but put video there, because if people come to your page and they want to know about nonprofits, video is the best way to really tell that story. So even if they're not necessarily looking at that point when you create it, just have it there, because I think it's a great resource. You can still, even though the top level tab might be gone, you can still sort the post by video. You can still find it. And that's a great tool, I think, to really talk about your nonprofit. Because when you talk about that behind the scenes, really
Yeah.
hearing from the volunteers, hearing from the users of, who are benefiting from your nonprofit, that's a story you want to always be telling.
Yep, yep, yep. And then you can have is this something that you provide as a service that like if a nonprofit wanted somebody to run their page, just kind
Yep.
of be their admin, is that something
Yes,
that
I do that. Yep, yep.
okay,
I
okay.
didn't
And then
specifically talk
and
about
I
my
think
services, but for
yeah.
nonprofits, for LinkedIn specifically, I'll help them. Like I could come in and do board training. I can come in and help you set up your page or improve your page if you already have one. If you're running events and you want help, LinkedIn Live, LinkedIn, or any type of whatever, virtual events, I can help them with that. If they just want to do a Given Tuesday campaign, very specific, I can help them with that as well.
That's good. That's good. Because I think that knowing that you can do that, because again, you can't do that from a profile.
Right.
And so a lot of people, if you've only got a profile on LinkedIn and you've never had a nonprofit page or a company page, you might not recognize that you legally, you can actually have somebody come in and take care of that for you.
Right.
So you're just like, somebody can drive the ship. It doesn't have to be you.
Right. Yeah, but let me tell you, this is one of the reasons why you want all hands on deck. I actually suggest that nonprofits, no matter the size, have a sort of like a lunch and learn with their volunteers and everybody, trying to get everybody on board, because then everybody can invite people they know to the page. Your board members can invite people to the page. So if you want to get more eyes on your nonprofit, get everybody involved.
I love that. I love that. Okay. So we hit our 30-minute mark, as I knew we would, very, very quickly. So is there any kind of final takeaways that you'd like to leave us with today, Angela?
I would just say definitely pay attention to both the nonprofit.linkedin.com page. Join the group. Thank you, John, for putting that link in there. And like I said, they're finally actually putting more content out there to help support nonprofits. They're not necessarily telling them. That's why you need to just kind of go in there and pay attention yourself. So I would definitely say those are the two things. And again, the ABCs. Think about what's on your profile. Think about how you're connecting in your network. Think about the content.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you, Angela. I think you have provided amazing value today. I think a lot of people are like, wow, you've given us a lot to think about. And I think every nonprofit out there, they need to hear this live today to just see or hear about all the options that are available. So take advantage of this before features disappear.
Before features disappear.
Right in.
Right. And if you want some training, I also have there's another organization that caters to nonprofits, Charity How To. So if you go to Charity How To, there's some LinkedIn training that I've done that's up there as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you very much. And thank you everybody for being here today. And we'll see you all next week on LinkedIn Live with Gillian and friends. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Thank you for having me. Very excited.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Okay. Bye.